this was announced late last night. What was your opinion on the Arik Armstead news? Now, as Mayoko pointed out, nothing is 100,000% official, but it was announced that Arik Armstead was going to test free agency. If this was going to free up a ton of cap space for the 49ers, I think I would have understood it, only because I think he's played 13 games in the last 2 seasons. So, although an incredible player when on the field, also you have to think about the sacrifice he made in the playoffs this year and in the Super Bowl this year, playing not only through his plantar fasciitis, but with a torn MCL. Just incredible. A great human being. I think it was 4 years in a row he was nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Done a ton for the Bay Area and for Sacramento. Seems like a really good person, not just player, but also a very underrated player. I think, in the statistics, he doesn't always show up, but I think he's created a ton of opportunity for other players on the defensive line, and the 49ers will definitely miss a guy like him. Considering injury, if it would have freed up a ton of cap space, I think I would have understood it. The reason I'm confused is I think letting him go right now only frees up $2 million, and that doesn't seem like enough money for them to let him walk. Do you understand really what's happening with the Arik Armstead thing and why they're letting him test free agency if it's only that much of a difference on the cap hit?
Yeah, so I mean, and just going back to the original report, it was that like he was approached on taking a significant pay cut.
Yeah.
Um, he didn't
Which probably
agree.
didn't make him happy after he just
Yeah.
made that giant sacrifice.
He didn't, yeah, exactly. He didn't agree to that. I think they were still trying to work something out, but basically they probably gave him an ultimatum of, either take this pay cut or we have to let you go. And that's why in Jordan Schultz's original report it said Arik Armstead decides to test free agency. It's weird to use that wording
Yeah, it
for a
was a
player
weird.
that's still under contract, but that's basically what he was alluding to, I believe. And I think that's been also confirmed by some of the local beat writers. So yeah, he didn't want to take a pay cut. Good on him. I mean, I think it's fair for him to want to get his money. And if the
Especially
49ers
seeing
aren't
how much
willing,
players are
yes,
making.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's another team who would be willing to pay that. Now, as far as the designation goes, yes, pre June 1st, not a lot of cap relief for the 49ers. So a lot of people are, at this point, it's all just speculation because we don't have anything from the actual team or any actual concrete report about when this release would occur. But the expectation or the speculation is that it would be a post June 1st release, and then that would really be the only way it makes sense for the 49ers, because then they would get
Yeah.
more cap relief in the move. If they do it pre June 1st, there's a dead cap hit that's pretty high. And so it would make little to no sense for the 49ers. But for the 49, I don't think it's very surprising that, a player like Arik Armstead, who was slated to get paid as much as he was, this season, was called upon to potentially take a pay cut. That's kind of the risk that the 49ers have had to take, right? Like with the restructures they've done. He was a player they restructured, I believe, like once or twice in the past couple years.
Yeah.
So
Pushing that money
that
back.
that all comes to catch up. And so yeah, it caught up to the 49ers. They had to make a tough decision. So nothing is official yet. I think there's still a chance that, he even could return to the team if, maybe he hears from other, teams he's not liking that value, or, he's not
That makes sense.
expecting,
Yeah.
like if his numbers out there in free agency aren't as high as he expected them to be potentially, I don't see why not. He wouldn't come back to the 49ers or then agree to a some type of restructure pay cut. But yeah, it's still up in the air. I guess that one's not really final, but yeah, I expect that move to happen in any case.
I imagine that he'll find a contract larger than that in free agency, mostly just because I feel like in free agency, guys get overpaid. Like, I think that's pretty standard just for all guys, just because how often does a guy, I know he's injured and missed a lot of games, but of Arik Armstead's caliber when he's playing, how often does a guy like that come available? Not often. This is a side note that I just thought about myself was I wonder, and potentially you didn't think I kind of wasn't sure if he would come back anyways, but do you think that this would sway Javon Kinlaw into coming back or not coming back? Because I was kind of I was talking about this with Jose, and I thought that it was pretty likely that Javon Kinlaw would get maybe above $4.5 million from a different team. Jose thought he would get under that and come back to the 49ers. I said I could see him taking, if it's like a $5 million difference, taking a deal to stay with the 49ers just because he's finally getting in this rhythm and routine where he's finally healthy, maybe wants to keep the structure that he's been in. And I know he's felt really connected to Arik Armstead, not just like as a player, but as a friend. I know when they released that video of Armstead with the Walter Payton
Mhm.
Man of the Year award, Javon Kinlaw was kind of tearing up, saying he doesn't know where he would be in his career in the NFL without Armstead. I think he literally might have said, like, I'm going to try to follow you wherever you go. At the time, it felt like more like in a life way he was saying that. But I don't know. Do you think that letting a guy like Armstead go, him being such a stalwart of the team, such like a leader, does that affect any of the players on the team, or do they all kind of see, okay, it's a business, he's getting paid a lot, he's an older player missing games, or do you think that people maybe side eye the organization, longest tenured player, excellent, when he's on the field, played through injury, like how do other players see this move, do you think?
I think for the free agents, I think it might give them a feeling of, okay, it's probably time to move on. Let's see where Eric goes, or, something like that. It reminds me of Jimmy Ward, right? Similar situation, close to 10 years with the org. And, when he left, it was kind of a big deal. I mean, he was seen as a leader for this team. And I think we that off season, as we do a lot of off seasons, like we saw a lot of guys leave, a lot of defensive players as well. So it could be the same for Eric. I mean, I think, yeah, you mentioned Kinlaw. I think that's someone who is very close with Eric, and that could definitely sway him to. I mean, he's already testing free agency, but it can sway him
Yeah.
to, you know, take another offer to a specific team, maybe, just if Eric goes to that same team, maybe. But there's also other connections out there. I mean, the Robert Saleh connection with the Jets, the D'Amico connection with the Texans. I mean, that's a great place to be. I think either one of those teams could be in play for a guy like Kinlaw and or Arik Armstead. So, yeah, I mean, I think as far as Kinlaw returning to San Francisco, I I would be open to it at the right price. I was actually surprised because sometime last week, Tim Kaye and Matt Barrows were together on a podcast, and they both kind of agreed that, yeah, I think Javon Kinlaw actually gets more than a lot of people expect or would expect him to get. So that's
I
kind of
hope
stuck
so,
into
because
my
I
mind.
made a bet. I hope so, because I made a bet with Jose that I thought he was gonna get over 4 million, and Jose was like, "No way." And I was like, "I think he will." I think first round pick still has like a lot of the physical attributes that people were looking for. I know he suffered with injuries a lot, but finally had a healthy year and actually showed a lot of progress during that year. I think that there's going to be a team that'll take a chance on giving him, I'm not saying like, humongous deal, but maybe a bigger deal than the 49ers are willing to give him. So,
So the Panthers just traded Brian Burns to the Giants. It was official.
no, to the Giants. Why?
The
That's such a
Giants.
waste.
I know. I'm like, man, let that guy go to a good team.
Yeah, like put him on the Bills or something, or on the 49ers, but I just sorry. 49ers fans like, excuse me.
Let me see the compensation if we
Yeah,
have
let me know
news
that.
on that.
That's just weird. Didn't Christian Wilkins went to like the Raiders too, right? I didn't
So
understand that. I know that they have the Raiders are going to be such an interesting team, right? Because they have Max Crosby now. They have Christian Wilkins, so they're going to have like a good defense, and then they're going to have like a QB battle between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner
Minshew.
Minshew.
Hey, I mean, we'll
Interesting,
see. Yeah,
interesting stuff
so
going on there.
the
Somewhere
Panthers
Brad
send
Graham is throwing up. He's so angry.
the Panthers send Brian Burns to the Giants for a second and a fifth rounder. It says a second and fifth rounders, so I don't know if that's multiple fifth rounders. Um,
Seems like not that much.
and he got a deal 5 years, 150 million with 87.5 million guaranteed.
Why didn't the 49ers do
That's
that?
definitely more than the more I think the 49ers could afford, but yeah.
Why? I feel like if is it spread out, it's they just couldn't do it money-wise? I feel
I
like
mean,
that's
that's a
not even
lot
that much.
guaranteed. I mean, as far as guarantees go, that's quite a bit,
But
but
he's
I don't
a
know.
little bit younger. Brian Burns is
Yeah, it's
younger.
like 25 or
So not
something.
only are you going like I think the 49ers like, when you're talking about like re-signing JJ and stuff like that, like they're definitely going all in for next year. But also if they keep Ayuk, I think they're trying to free up probably space to be able to sign Brock Purdy next year. Bringing in a guy like Brian Burns would have been great.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know
don't
why.
know.
I thought that it would have taken like a first, a second, and a fifth. That's kind of like I understand that sometimes I think teams trade less when they end up having to pay them as well, but not as much as I would have thought. See, what could the Giants give the Panthers to make that move? I felt like not that much. And then I wanted to say hi, Salty, because he said, "Hey, Ash and Steph, Salty in the house." Um, so interesting. Poor Brad Graham. He's probably very upset. um, but still no moves made on Danielle Hunter. So I think the
Yeah.
49er, a lot of 49er fans might still have their fingers crossed for that one coming out. Dang, that's a I don't I don't really understand the money thing. Can't they just like space it out?
I mean,
I'm someone who
I'm no
thinks it's
cap
half the
guru,
space, but
so
I'm obviously wrong because they just cut Armstead for $2 million. So what the hell do I know? No, can I ask you a question about this? And maybe you don't know. But you were saying like the post June designation.
mhm.
You can just do that at any time? Like, they can just be like, "Oh, like, even though we're cutting you now, that's, like, what we're gonna call it?" Why does
Yeah,
that
I think and don't quote me on this. I but based on some tweets that I saw, and I hopefully I'm not misunderstanding. I think that if you set it for June
anyone make
for a
sure to
post
quote
June
Steph on this.
1st designation, you don't get that cap relief until then.
Okay, so you can't use that money until then, but then what
Yeah.
they could do is at the trade deadline that's in the middle of the year, they could end up getting someone. Is that what that means? Which they tend
Yeah,
to
I
do.
mean,
Usually they
yeah, I
utilize
mean,
that.
theoretically, yeah, they would have a surplus of money after June 1st, which is,
'Cause my
that's
thing is, like, what's the
it's
point of
still the off
that?
season.
What's the point of that if there's, I hate that we keep getting old defensive linemen. Floyd is consistent, though, I guess. I wanted to read, did it go away? Leonard Floyd has played in 108 straight games. He hasn't missed a single game since 2017. Don't
Yeah.
overlook that level of durability. So I think it's understandable that the 49ers would want to target a guy. I know that his age is a thing that obviously Golden State Niner is pointing out. Bundy, on the other hand, says he likes the signing. I think it's a good move. Knock on wood that he's able to keep up that consistency. 9 sacks in four straight seasons is good production, especially being that he wasn't on the field the entire time while getting that production is also impressive. And then not missing, I think the 49ers are starting to maybe prioritize health with this team and knowing that they've really struggled in that area, kind of especially on that defensive line. Maybe that's a bigger priority to them than it was before. I think with the I know that Golden State 49er pointed out the age, but it's only a 2-year contract and it's pretty affordable. So I think I think if it was like a 4-year, 5-year deal, you might be like, oh, what the hell? But 2 years isn't, that much, in my opinion. It's more of
Yeah,
a move for this year and
and I'd have
cheap
to
on the
look at the
budget next
actual,
year.
like, details of the contract, but it could even be, like, that the 49ers have an out after the first year, right? So, I mean, that's
Mm.
possible too. I think, this is, to me, a mid-risk move for the 49ers.
I agree. And Tribe, I'm bummed about Armstead in the human way. I think he seems like a good human. I mean, I also am bummed about him in the player production way, because even just now when I was talking about Leonard Floyd in my head, I was kind of like, see, like they need these healthy players, but then you think of a guy like Armstead who wasn't healthy, but then showed up and played, and not even played, like played really well in the Super Bowl, like played extremely well without an MCL. I'm bummed about it too. Like I said, if it ends up being a post June designation and they save like 12 or whatever $1 million, I think that is worth it. If it's something where they only save $2 million, then I really don't understand it. And I think maybe we'll learn more about that when it gets all finalized. Basically, a 1-year deal with 12 million guaranteed if they bail out after year one is I think Leonard Floyd's deal that Uncle Salty might be talking to you about. And then uh this is interesting. Have you heard about the Trey to, oh my gosh, screw Trey. Have you heard about the Kirk Cousins is just the biggest finesser ever in the NFL? I'm not even, he's a good quarterback, but he's by the end of his career gonna make, I was just reading it earlier, like the exacts, but it's like $411 million. Crazy.
I
Kirk
mean,
Cousins, man. That's
teams
so sick.
pay a
He's a
premium
success.
for
Who's his agent?
quarterbacks.
I need to go. Everyone, if I was in the NFL, I'm knocking, calling. What did you do? How'd you do it? Please help me. Everyone is getting underpaid. If I'm Patrick Mahomes, I'm like, why? Brady's somewhere sitting at home, like I'm gonna rejoin. I'm joining a team this year. There's no way that Kirk Cousins is gonna leave with this much more money than me. Corey Soto said, Ashley, we're broke. Which is funny. Me too. I can relate. Me and the 49ers both. But I do want to talk to you about this because I was talking to my dad about it right before this. By the way, thank you, Daddy. I went and visited my dad and he like made me some food and stuff. It was nice.
Nice.
But we were talking to him about, there seems like a lot of fans that are still interested in maybe getting to see Trey Lance play at some point. Do you have like any feelings towards that? Why do you think there's this fascination still? Is it just like people want to see, is he truly a bust or will he work out? Why do you think there's this kind of intrigue into Trey still?
People
Just there
want to
was
be
so much
right.
hype.
People
There's
just
just
want
so
to be
much hype.
right. That's it. That's all it is. They want to be
Yeah.
right about Trey and how loud they were about